Welcome to Thrive, Lead, Succeed. I'm Sandi Hokansson, Executive Coach and CEO of Sound Leadership. And today we're going to be talking about working and parenting from home. Before we dig in, what I'd like to do first is just have you check in with yourself. Okay, so grab a pen and paper if you don't have one handy. And I'd like us to take a minute to just think about how you're feeling right now. And think about how you're feeling as it relates to how productive you're feeling in your home office at the present time. So think about it on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being totally ineffective and 10 being super productive. Where would you rate yourself? Once you have that rating, move on to think about what productivity level you'd like to be operating at during this time frame. What's a realistic goal for you, and set one for yourself. Think about how well you're balancing work and home responsibility. How's it going so far? Some of us have been working at home for 3 or 4 weeks now. Okay, are you starting to see some balance? Are you starting to get into your routine? Or is it still very challenging? Think about what's working for you and what you want to keep doing. And think about what's standing in your way. And then be very, very honest with yourself. And just ask yourself the question, what do you know you need to do that you are not doing? See if you can think about why. Okay, so we've checked in, and that's going to be important at the end of this 20-minute, our 20 minutes together today, when we're actually also going to make some commitments on moving forward. So let's first off, a very good place to start for yourself when you're looking at working from home, and particularly working from home over a long period of time, is to set some ground rules. So the very first thing you can do, if you have a partner that you live with at home, first lay the ground rules and set some ground rules with your partner first, and then call it a family meeting. If you don't have a partner and you're on your own and you have other family members with you, then go directly to calling a family meeting. And during this family meeting, what's really, really important is start by sharing how you're feeling. Okay, there's been a lot going on, as I mentioned. We're a couple weeks into this now. Some of you have been working from home for several weeks. Lots of schedules have been upended, and we're getting used to new schedules. So how's everyone feeling about the situation? What are people worried about in the family? What are they angry about, for example? Maybe there's some important day or some special event that was canceled, or they couldn't celebrate a milestone as they would usually do so. Maybe if you've got children and children are now at home, maybe they're missing their friends. Find out how everyone's feeling, and then also talk about what are some of the needs that everyone has in the family. What are the basic needs? I'm not talking about needs that we can't meet right now due to the pandemic. I'm talking about basic needs that everyone needs met. And then as a family, discuss how everyone can have those basic needs met or even partially met. Think about what is going on a daily basis as well in the home, and how you're going to handle, for example, household chores. Make sure that you are talking about sharing in those duties, even if one person in the family has previously done the majority of those tasks. This is not the time to keep that rule in place, because there's just so much more work to do. So make sure that those chores are shared, and that people understand there's going to be more responsibility. Also, start as well by just recognizing this is new territory. Everything is not going to be normal, and everyone is going to do their best. And perhaps just most families have a lot of love and respect for each other in place anyway. And so maybe just reinforce together that this is a time where even extra patience and extra understanding with each other, as everyone does the best they can in this new situation. And then another thing that's really important is to continue to meet on a regular basis. Now, for some families, this could be daily, that you might want to have a family meeting, and others it might be once a week would be fine enough, or just on demand. But just remember, it's just like you being in a work environment. Communication is critical to all good relationships and sustaining relationships. And the frequency of meetings, it will be important to make sure that there's a communication structure in place that families can chat about what's working and what isn't working, and to make sure that you stay ahead of it as best you can. Okay, so you've got some basic ground rules of how you're going to treat each other, what's really important to each other, what are some basic needs, recognizing that it's new for everyone. I'd like to move on now to the basics of home office success. So when you're setting up your home office, and again, some of you are already into it for a few weeks now, one of my recommendations is private workspace, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Respect, again, for each person working from home. Some families have more than one person working and more than two people working. You might have an adult child that is a worker living back at home with you during this time. And remember that every person has their own work schedule and own work deadlines that have to be met. And so respect is to give respect equally for each person. So that's the second point. And then the third point is to have a schedule and follow a daily schedule. I'm going to speak to each of these now individually. So when you think about success in working, I've been, as you know, I'm a coach, and I've been conducting my sessions virtually, and that is my usual format. So I'm very comfortable in that setting. What has been very interesting to me during this time is seeing a lot of my clients being challenged in their home office. I have met people's pets, people's children. I've met the pizza delivery man. It's been an interesting time to have coaching sessions because people just have a lot going on in the home environment. My suggestion, the most ideal situation is to have a private work area. This can be anywhere that you can find that you can work in an uninterrupted way, in a fairly private area. So this could be, if you don't have the luxury of having your own home office, this could be in a bedroom or a spare room of any kind where you set up a small table or desk area. I see a lot of people working with laptops in the kind of general area of their house. I really think this is going to be challenging for most leaders. Even the best multitask-oriented leaders, I think that, with being able to be accessible and disruptive throughout the day, all day long, is not going to yield a high productivity level for your work time. So see what you can do about getting a private work area. If you're sharing your space with your partner or other working adults in the home, then see if you can schedule private time and alternate who's going to be working in the area. The other thing that is important is to really, as I mentioned, really try to find it at some times where you can work uninterrupted. And my recommendation is as a 2-hour time slot. So perhaps one partner can hold the household and work with the children for 2 hours, and the other one works, and then switch it up a little bit. If 2 hours seems impossible, then start perhaps at a half an hour and then move up to an hour. And hopefully at some point during this time you will get up to 2 hours, but allow yourself enough time to actually get some work done. Something simple that some people are finding effective is to just put up a little handmade sign in the house that says you're now entering the quiet zone, to remind children and grandparents and other family members, whoever's living with you, that you are now entering a work area. Okay, so as much as this sounds like this is maybe a little bit hard to do, please make the effort to do it. I think you'll find once you make the effort to do it, things will go a little bit better and your productivity will improve. I've mentioned this already, but the second area here for home success is respecting each family member's needs and remembering it's new territory, okay? And you may be observing different things about your partner or your spouse that you've never understood before or never seen. Work habits are different than life habits sometimes. And so here are some kind of steps to help you navigate that. First thing is to observe, to check for understanding, once again, to have each partner articulate and reiterate what their needs are, and then negotiate how to achieve these together. And where possible, do this exercise with each family member. And conflict will arise, okay? And we're used to resolving conflict in our work situations, our regular work environment when it arises, and the same is necessary to do in the family situation. Perhaps previously you may have just let things go and not address them when a conflict arises, but when you're all living together and working together at home, it's best to resolve conflict as quickly as possible and clear the air. And that's something else that can either be done privately or be done as a family in the family meeting time. Okay, the last part about getting your home office set up for success is following a schedule. You know, we're all used to a schedule at our regular place of work, so this should not sound new to anyone. The same thing applies in a home environment, albeit it is probably much, much more difficult to keep that schedule. So one of the things that you can start to think about is to work with each family member on what are the most important things that are on each other's deliverables and are coming up in each other's time frame that people have to commit to and deliver on. And it's really, really critical that all of those key deliverables get set out so that everyone can see. And this is how you can start to establish and plan accordingly on who needs to be prioritized as far as their work schedule goes. The other thing that's important is to, where possible, bring your children in if they're old enough to help set their own schedule. There's been a lot of support from teachers and on what structure will work best in the home and how much time is important to schedule for children each day and each week, and so take that into account as well. Plan ahead on a weekly basis. I'd like to look at a week in advance for all of my work weekly schedule, and I'm sure you do too. So continue to do this, and then every day look at what you've accomplished, look at what your schedule is for tomorrow, review it on a daily basis, make any changes that require to be adjusted, and then dig in. Recognize and know going into this that your schedules at home are going to change, and they may change hourly, and you may have to negotiate and reschedule on the fly to accommodate everyone's needs. That's okay. That does not mean that you give up on the schedule. Please do not do that. Okay. The schedule is something that will help keep you grounded, and you can come back to, even if you have a couple challenging days in a row. Just get back on schedule, okay, and get back to it. And just remember, on a schedule, in addition to your critical work deliverables and the altering time frame I suggested for multiple workers in a home environment, also think about how you can find time to be alone, have some quiet time for yourself, have some just regular family time, and if you are in a relationship with a partner, to have some couple time, and always include some time to get outside and for exercise as well. Okay. Moving on to some just parental tips here. And the first thing, and I've already referred to this before, is that follow the guidelines that from the school and teacher. In some municipalities, teachers are actually available online now to support children, and others, they're still relying on the parents for the primary source of schooling in a home environment. But follow whatever advice that your school board and your teachers are providing you. Plan for at most about 2 hours of actually structured learning per day for your child. And this may make you feel relieved a little bit. It is not necessary to think of cramming in, multiple hours for your child every day of structured learning. Each child's day should have the following components. You should have learning, you should have exercise, you should have creativity, you should have fun and some quiet time for each child. And so at the most, we're looking for about 2 hours of some structured curriculum. And remember, with your partner, alternate and share the duties, or if there's a senior family member or retired family member that's also part of your family unit, perhaps they would like to also lend a hand in some of the parenting duties. And once again, create a schedule. That schedule should be part of the family schedule. Don't, feel isolated during this time. Remember to collaborate with other parents for ideas and best practices, and there's lots of online support as well. Number one, remember to breathe. Don't aim for perfection, and remember to laugh. If your children don't get any structured learning one day, just double down the next day. It's fine. These are really unprecedented times. We're all doing the best we can. Your children are very adaptable, and they're going to do just fine coming out of this situation that we all find ourselves in. A couple other points that I want to share with you. It's important that you don't overlook your own needs as well, okay? Each family member's needs. Don't forget this. Don't try to be all things to all people, and raise your hand and ask for more support in the family meeting if you require it. Most companies really recognize that working from home is going to be a challenge and has its unique challenges anyway. So, for example, if early mornings work best for you at home, then try to negotiate to see if that you can rejig some of your work schedule for the really most important and most structured meetings in the morning. So that then you have a little bit more flexibility. You will be surprised how approachable your organization and your work organizations are during this time to accommodate you. They want you to find the highest productivity level you can find in the midst of all of this disruption. And also, as much as I have said a few times that this is not this is a new situation and it's not normal, it's also very important, on the other hand, to create normalcy wherever you can. So, for example, if you usually read the kids' bedtime stories at night, then keep doing it. Please think about that, even for yourself, to trying to commit to your schedule that you had before. Okay, so again, just wrapping up here, remember this is new. Mistakes are going to be made by you and by others. Try to move past them as quickly as possible. As I mentioned as well, don't get too stuck to the schedule. If you really have a really tough day, then just start over again the next day. Laugh as much as you can. Break up the time during the day and do some silly things just to lighten the load. And remember, this too shall pass. As a family, work to kind of enjoy the family time. We never get this much time together and appreciate it. And also just understand that many people are having a tough time. It may be your own family and your own personal situation. It could be your neighbors, just be people in your organization. But there definitely are tough situations going on right now with people's health, with people's financial situation, with accessibility. And so be grateful what you have, and if possible, reach out to others, and that will make you feel a lot better. So let's just wrap up again here with the commitment. We started off thinking about checking in on where you were, what level of productivity you're at, and what level of productivity you'd like to achieve. So as we wrap up, what steps will you take now to achieve the productivity level that you want during this time? What steps will you take to keep your family members engaged, loved, and supported? Who do you need any assistance from, and how are you going to get that? And most importantly, what commitment are you going to make right now, and when will you start to make these changes to increase the level of productivity as you're working from home? There's lots of support as well at this time. If you need more support, there's lots of great coaches around. There's lots of support through your organization and your company, your boss, HR. But don't forget that if you do want some support, I'm available as well to assist you, and reach out to me. I'm pleased to speak to you and share some ideas and further support if you find that this is a time where you would like to look at the best ways possible to move forward and to be as productive as you can. So thank you very much. I hope this has helped. I know we're all working really hard right now to manage this new situations, to lead at a very high level in a principled way, and to help support those of us that are having a tough time. So lead well, stay well, and be well. Thank you. Bye-bye.